Want to become an elite level athlete? Well, look no further. The Reclaim Your Throne Elite D1 training course is all you need to take your performance from subpar to the creme de la creme of athletes all around the world. The purpose of this course is to give you a comprehensive weight training, speed, flexibility, recovery, and endurance program that is meant to prepare young athletes for collegiate and professional sports. This course is packed with over 2 hours of creative, action-packed lifts narrated and coached by yours truly to assure increased strength, speed, flexibility, recovery, and endurance. Hey, I get it. Training alone can be tough and can even make you feel misguided or somewhat unmotivated. But with this course, I walk you step by step through each and every lift to make sure you're using the proper form to prevent injuries and that you're hitting the correct muscle groups to render maximum results. So what are you waiting for? It's now or never. So go ahead and get the training course today so you too can reclaim your throne.
What's good, Shadow Realm? It's your boy Reclaim Your Throne coming at you with another crazy video. But first, my goal is to get to 10,000 subscribers by the end of the month. So make sure you go ahead and like, comment, share, subscribe. And you already know, Reclaim Your Throne. So, let me get my focus straight. All right, so we have to talk about this. I just need to get, because they got Twitch tweaking right now. So let me just switch this. Let me just restream it. My Twitch stream is not, y'all know Twitch is super sensitive, so you got to change the title and stuff. They're still saying the title is invalid. Maybe it's Andrew Tate. All right, let me just try it. Sorry, guys. They tell you that once you start the stream. So that's crazy. All right, let's see. Remove. All right, let's try this one more time. Same. All right, let's see if that works. All right, we're good on Twitch. We are live on YouTube, X, Rumble, Kick, and Twitch. And we are going to talk about Laura Southern and her accusation against Andrew Tate. She is accusing Andrew Tate of graping her years ago in a new book release. So, wow, she writes this long story. She writes a long story about Andrew Tate raping her. So let's get into it. Obviously, this is another example of a fake accusation. Andrew Tate has been under fire, and right now he's an easy target. He actually was accused of rape in Los Angeles, and the woman had to drop the case. Obviously, we know about the Romanian case that got dropped and that Dicot waged against him. That, I mean, it didn't get completely dropped, but they basically allowed him to travel, and they're loosening up whatever charges that they were having on him. So now it's absolutely hilarious how all these things are coming back. And Laura Southern is going balls to the wall against Andrew Tate. And we know, like, Laura Southern, or Lauren Southern, whatever her name is, she actually got papped out by Destiny, the weirdo cuckmeister with the blue hair. She let him pap her out, and then there was a whole story about that. She lied about that. And then Destiny actually, I think Destiny tried to lie about it, but then somehow it ended up getting out. I don't know the exact story. But essentially she lied about getting papped out by Destiny. And now she is coming out against Andrew Tate to sell a book. Now, I want to get specifically into the actual accusations. So she's trying to say that she's not trying to profit from it. So she puts this chapter, a few chapters of the book, the one being where she's accusing Andrew Tate of raping her. She releases the paywall. So shout out to Van Lee. He says Lauren Southern is the epitome of a plain Jane. This story ain't even salacious. Yeah, she's just kind of piling on the smorgasbord of women trying to profit from accusing Andrew Tate of rape. So here we go. She says, hi, all. Some last notes before I log off. I've decided to release a few chapters of this book for free, specifically those involving Andrew Tate and his ongoing criminal case. Let me address a few things before you get into said chapters. The reason these chapters aren't behind a paywall is because they weren't written with the intention of profiting off this incident. They were written because they're part of my story and they're true. If you're here just to read about Tate or think this is some kind of selling point, please don't buy the book. You won't find any. So she's making the disclaimer, it's like reverse psychology. You won't find anything more significant about him in its pages beyond what's already here for free. I can assure you no one is more aware of the cosmic irony or the colossal train wreck of my life than I am. I've made mistakes, some mine alone, others shaped by the psychological toll of existing in a deeply toxic political space. If you're here to point those things out, you're late. I've already written the book. I've named the skeletons, told the stories, owned my mess. But let's be clear, my personal drama doesn't change the credibility of claims I've made. I hope those who can think for themselves can see past the name calling and attempts to muddy the water that will certainly come about my influencers for hire trying to cash in or cover their asses. So here she is trying to make the disclaimer that I'm telling the truth, even though I've lied about so many things in the past, essentially. She says, I was not the first person to talk about this event publicly. Others involved choose to speak out and purvey a distorted version of these events, not just to get ahead of the narrative, but to undermine other witnesses and other legitimate cases of assault and trafficking. I've spent much of my life since then mentally avoiding this experience and the drama surrounding it, but I cannot remain silent when my story is being twisted and used as a tool to discredit others. It would be unjust not to set the record straight. I understand people will want evidence for some of the claims being made here, and that's completely fair. Given the deeply personal nature of the material, I've shared it privately with two media sources, one mainstream and left-leaning, the other independent and right-leaning. I did this knowing readers have different levels of trust in different outlets and wanted to offer a chance for clarity through whichever lens they find more credible. I'll hyperlink their pieces, then I get a chance, or when I get a chance, may take a few days. I haven't done any interviews and don't plan to. If anyone else seems unusually informed, no, it's not some grand matrix conspiracy, just a few DMs and some advanced copies in the mail. And while this is my account, it's not the only one. Another book by someone who knows this story from a very different angle is on the way. Okay, I've mentioned on these pages that I've assisted with investigations where and when I could. Though for much of my life, I stayed on the sidelines out of fear and desire to preserve my anonymity. Since that's no longer an issue, I want to make it clear that I'm willing to help in any way I can in a more official capacity, especially with the ongoing cases in Romania and elsewhere if they would like to reach out to me. Wow. So she's actually saying that she would be, I guess, a negative character witness against Andrew Tate in Romania. So I don't know how whatever she got going on and it plays into the Romanian case. It actually has nothing to do with it. But she's saying she's willing to fly all the way out to Romania to stick it to Tate. Excuse me. So I find that fascinating. I definitely find that fascinating. I've seen the claims online that many of the anonymous witnesses don't exist or or that they've been paid off or are part of some deep state plot. Every kind of misdirection imaginable. I don't know any of these women personally, but I do know that I exist and I know that no one paid me to come forward. Everything in the book and here is written in my own words and published by me. No ghostwriters, no sponsors, no shady backers, just hundreds of hours of my time and more sleepless nights than I care to count. I mean, she's really trying to sink in the feel sorry for me angle. And there are people who know her personally who are just like, who aren't buying it at all. They know she's a drama queen who likes to embellish upon her stories. And I personally think like her writing of this book is not completely nonfiction. I think a lot of the aspect is fictional and embellished in some ways. I don't know if the legal cases will be successful. What I do know is that in a world where you can buy off algorithms and politicians, the truth is hard to find, and it certainly isn't always officially verified. As we've just seen recently with Epstein, information is powerful, though. The more people who understand the digital delusion we're living in, the closer we get to breaking it. I know parts of the book I've written will be used as political bludgeons in the culture war. I know it'll be chopped into clickbait, stripped of context, and turned into ammo for people who haven't even read a page. The point, of course, is that in the chaos, maybe it will find its way to the handful of people trying to get out of this digital hall of mirrors, or to the even fewer who still actually read books. My ultimate hope with the publication of these chapters, and more importantly, with my full book, is for healing. Even for those who have hurt me, I've learned well in my own life that some healing only comes from purifying fire. I hope my care in writing these notes and chapters give the truth the best chance to breathe in a media ecosystem that thrives on distortion and unreality. Let's see if it makes it out alive. So this is chapter 10. She's calling it the scam economy. Shout out to Lord Melee. He says, bro, why this lady behind Tate again? Tam Wu says, how you get this set up in jail? That's funny. So Tam Wu must think I'm in prison or something. I'm actually in my home. So let's see. I'm not entirely sure how the conversations leading up to it went. And part of me dreads just how sinister they may have been. But around February 2018, Tommy Robinson mentioned to Colin, George, and me that he had been in contact with some wealthy crypto investors in Eastern Europe who might be interested in sponsoring a large media project we could all build together. Things were going incredibly well with my YouTube views, but as any up-and-coming online influencer knows, you can never just be okay with things. You're always chasing the next big idea, the next project, the next opportunity. A right-wing European media outlet hosted by some of the most famous figures in the dissident right. It sounded crazy, but with the right funding, maybe it could work. How could I say no? The flights were booked almost instantly by the investors, and I'll never forget showing up at the airport in Luton with Callan and George early in the morning. Tommy was off his head as usual, but I wasn't familiar enough with the antics of cocaine addicts to fully understand the gravity of it. He wore a matching designer tracksuit, a typical look, and kept clenching his jaw, motor mouthing between paranoid rants and overly enthusiastic anticipation. He somehow smuggled an absurd amount of cocaine through airport security, incredibly cheeky about it as always. So she's accusing Tommy Robinson of smuggling cocaine through the airport. And Tommy Robinson, he is a far right social media influencer. He like does documentaries on like how Muslims are invading Europe and the Great Replacement conspiracy theory and all this kind of stuff. So he's that type of guy. Here's the thing: white people do cocaine, so I wouldn't I wouldn't say that it's far-fetched that he was doing cocaine. But also to smuggle cocaine through the airport, that's not easy. So I mean, I'm having a hard time, believing that he was able to get a absurd amount of cocaine through the airport, because those dogs at the airport, dude, they're smelling everything. Everything. I remember I was at the airport one time, and this guy had like a bag of money, and it had to be some type of drug money, because the dog was all over it, sniffing, sniffing, sniffing. They opened the bag up, it's just tons of money, but no drugs. But it, may have passed the hands And, you know, they ended up arresting the dude anyway. So she says, now I know the TSA and every equivalent agency is largely nothing more than a time wasting joke. But back then, I still clung to the illusion that airport security actually served a purpose. Watching Tommy slip into the plane's bathroom again and again to do lines left me in a surreal state. So she's not actually confirming that she was in the bathroom with him, seeing him do lines. I don't know how she is like saying, oh, he was just doing the lines like that. But I mean, hey, look, I ain't putting it past him. He's a white boy. He seems like a hothead to me. You know, troubled past. He's from like a hood in I mean, I guess a white hood in London, so I wouldn't put it past him. It felt like I was living on autopilot watching a movie I didn't understand, one that was no longer my story but someone else's. I've heard every motivational podcast about taking extreme responsibility for your life, and maybe in a twisted way I tried to avoid responsibility by taking my hands off the wheel entirely, as if I had no role in the truck flying off the cliff. My people-pleasing, passive self had no business being on that plane unsupervised with a coked-up Tommy Robinson en route to some shady meeting in Eastern Europe, but there I was nodding along to every unhinged plan like it made perfect sense. Honestly, I was just as bad as Tommy, only I didn't need cocaine to fuel my delusions. He was probably doing drugs because he knew how insane everything was. I was worse. I actually thought it was serious. I was sitting there mentally drafting business talking points, wondering if we needed a Google Doc slideshow. Guys, do we have a plan here? Anytime I asked about the investors, the answers were vague and broken. Something about a professional boxer or whatever. Why a boxer in Eastern Europe would want to invest in our company was beyond me. But sure, they'd paid for the flights and agreed to a meeting. What's the worst that could happen? When we landed in Romania, Tommy told us the investors had sent cars. You're going to love these blokes, he chirped, still buzzing while the rest of us were groggy from the morning flight. We grabbed our bags and headed for the airport exit. I traveled through enough of Europe, including the old Eastern Bloc, to be familiar with the dreary landscapes and brutalist architecture. But the people waiting for us were hard to miss. They stood out like sore thumbs against the washed out Balkan backdrop and the aging Dacia Supernovas from 2001. Two sharply dressed men leaned against polished sports cars, waving as we rolled our suitcases down the walkway. The cars looked comically out of place and completely impractical for our luggage, but I wasn't about to complain. At least the investors clearly had money, and I'd never ridden in a car like that before. So obviously, she's struck by the clout off rip. Shout out to Terminator Joe. He says, didn't she fuck Destiny? Yeah, she did. Fuck Destiny, and she got exposed for that. So, I mean, her credibility is pretty much down the drain because she was trying to cap about not fucking Destiny, and she actually did. Tommy claps hands with his acquaintance in one of those firm pull-in handshakes that turned into a quick back pat, half hug, the kind that was more about respect and warmth. As it turned out, the pair were brothers, and after the greeting, they ushered us into the cars, but not before making it clear that I would be personally escorted by a man named Andrew. He had a wide grin and a unique lisp that reminded me of an old childhood friend, but seemed a bit too eager to get me alone. I figured we were all headed to the same place, and Callan, George, and Tommy all knew where I was and who I was with. Andrew seemed harmless enough, maybe even a fan. I didn't want to overthink. Before I'd even finished buckling my seatbelt, he was telling me how much he liked my work. I won't pretend I remember exactly how the conversation went, but Andrew clearly viewed me as some kind of hero, someone saving the Western world. She fell for that shit too. Wow. He'd watched plenty of my content. He referenced it almost reverently. Between flirtatious smiles and compliments, he was nice, charming, even. And I won't lie, I wasn't exactly disappointed to get a break from Tommy's antics and have a conversation with someone who was actually sober. Tommy mentioned he needed a nap before our meeting with the investors that evening. He needed much more than a nap, so after we stopped at the hotel, Andrew asked if I was hungry and if he could take me to grab an early dinner before we meet up at the compound later. The sun was still high. We had plenty of time to kill, So I said yes without thinking. I wasn't in the habit of turning down food. Years of financial stress made me frugal to a fault. My travels around Europe were basically a McDonald's tour, something my friends constantly teased me about. The steakhouse Andrew took, so she's setting up for, well, I he had the power dynamic because I'm used to McDonald's and he took me to a steakhouse. This is a lot of what these women do when retroactively withdrawing consent. I mean, this is hook, line, and sinker, the feminist playbook for me too. It's completely lined up right there, a layup. The steakhouse Andrew took me to was a stark departure from my usual dining choices. I'd say it was upscale, but everything seemed fancy compared to my chicken nugget dinners. We really did get along, but seeing someone with so much apparent wealth and success, I found myself curious about his ultimate goals in life. The Tate brothers carried themselves like they owned the place, well dressed, fit, with nice cars and enough money to start an entire news organization. I don't know if I was slowly waking up from my dopamine induced days, but part of me was just not satisfied with what I was seeing or where I was going. If I built a news network, if I got more fame, if I got more wealth, what was it all for? I wanted to know where this was headed. I can't help but laugh at the way I used to question men. They'd confidently declare their plans to dominate their field or conquer the world, and I would simply stare into their eyes and ask, but why? For what? What does this do for your soul? I'd watch something in them crack, something I didn't understand yet. Really, I asked them those questions because they were the same ones I was asking myself. Some part of me hoped these successful men would have the answer, but I hadn't yet realized that part of my journey up meant taking those kinds of questions and lining them up against a wall for execution without trial. Excuse me. Shit. No, sorry, Siri. Siri thought I was calling a bitch. That's crazy. Looking back, it's clear Andrew humored a lot of my queries, especially those about whether he wanted to start a family or get married someday. If I found the right woman, of course, that's what life is all about, family. It's how we rebuild Western civilization, he mused. But he lingered on that if just a little too long for it to feel sincere. There was an awkwardness in his response, like he was nervous. I might see through it. I remember this part of our conversation well, and it was the first moment that things felt off. I mean, didn't the nigga have like 9 kids by the time by 2018? He had like multiple children, so I don't know. I don't know what the contents of the conversation were, but we're definitely going to get to Andrew Tate's response to this as well. I just kind of want to read what the allegation was first, because he's got some clapbacks. I hadn't learned to spot red flags yet, at least not the kind that were nice clothes, smiled politely, and echoed your politics back to you like a mirror. Dinner had relaxed me more than it should have. It was almost a rehearsal level of calm. He never said anything wrong, and maybe that was the red flag. After the meal, we returned to the hotel to prepare for the investment meeting. I didn't know what I was expecting the meeting to look like, but it certainly wasn't what I found myself walking into, with Callan, George, Tommy, and I all loaded into sports cars. Andrew and his brother Tristan drove us through the dreary side streets of a Bucharest neighborhood not far from our hotel. The final destination didn't look like much at first, just a generic industrial warehouse, but when the giant black gate rolled open, it revealed a scene that would have been obvious to me as a criminal operation if I had any clue how the world worked. We were greeted by a glowing blue pool surrounded by luxury cars as we stepped onto the tiled entrance. The building itself looked like it had been designed by edgy Reddit mods and anime nerds turned Mary Kondo minimalist fanatics. A giant samurai statue was one of the few decorations in the entryway, and flat screen TV adorned the walls rather, flashing cryptocurrency prices. It felt like every decision made here was exactly what a 10-year-old would do if they suddenly became a multimillionaire. I want fancy cars, a glowing pool, a big samurai statue, girls, and my favorite e-celebrities. What was more interesting than the decor though, were the people in the building. At this point, it was hard to tell who was in charge. Was it the brothers or the nerdy looking crypto bros sitting around a table on computers, eyes glued to their investment screens? It almost seemed like the brothers were the muscle and drivers, while the crypto guys were the ones doing the actual work. I was suddenly snapped out of my fascination with the scenery by an overwhelming sense that something was terribly wrong with Tommy. I'm not sure he had even napped at all, but he somehow gotten more drugs since landing in Bucharest. It certainly looked that way. Callan and George exchanged concern, knowing knowing glances as we watched Tommy lob one social grenade after another into what we'd hoped would be a productive investment meeting. It was nothing short of a disaster. It was beyond obvious to everyone in the room that they were either speaking to a severely mentally ill man or someone inhabiting a completely different drug-induced realm. Watching the reaction of the main crypto bro was something I wish I could describe in a way beyond writing. It's not a perfect comparison, but imagine Donnie Azoff, Jonah Hill, and the Wolf of Wall Street enduring Tommy's ramblings. The whole scene felt straight out of an SNL sketch. From this point forward, I'll call this guy Donnie. What was even more fascinating, though, was that Tommy's behavior had no apparent effect on the pitch being delivered from across the table. Donnie pointed to one of the screens and confidently announced that what appeared to be millions of dollars displayed in green pixels was what their coins were making in just the last 24 hours. I looked up at the screen as the numbers kept climbing. Another $10,000 I was watching. Excuse me. It was incomprehensible to me. We had just entered the era of crypto scam collapsing, but it still hadn't fully settled into the public's consciousness just how far-reaching these pump and dump schemes were. I don't think I or many other influencers at the time really understood all the altcoin jargon yet. My head was spinning, Tommy chewing on nothing, Callan and George doing their best to look engaged, and the Tate brothers casually lounging in their muscle shirts. I really wish I could remember the exact name they pitched to us. If I could, it would probably make you laugh, but after an exhausting technical monologue, Donnie put his hands on the table, looked up, and said, "We'll call it Freedom Token," or some nonsense like that. Oh no, I thought, fuck. They want us to sell cryptocurrency. Is this even an investment meeting at all? Despite my growing realization, I still wanted to make something out of all of this. I had nothing to lose at this point, so I interrupted rather awkwardly. The coin stuff is really interesting, but do you plan on putting an initial investment into the media company we're starting, or is this going to be entirely a crypto operation? The men at the table seemed caught off guard, but Donnie quickly scrambled to reassure me, absolutely. If we can come to an agreement, we'd cover the initial operating costs of the news network and link this token to it, making it mutually beneficial for everyone. Honestly, the token will be something all patriots can get behind. It'll just be a side operation, more of a way for your viewers to earn by sharing and engaging with your content. Barely the focus of the project. Plus, we'd give you all shares of the token for your own benefit. Great, I responded, but just before he cut me off by launching into another incomprehensible tirade of crypto jargon. Crypto bros are great at this. It's like half the battle is just confusing you enough that you're too embarrassed to ask for details. To be honest, I didn't care about the money at all. I was delusionally invested in building this alternative media platform, and I might have been the only one in the room still under the misguided impression that this was the real purpose of the meeting. I wasn't thrilled about the crypto angle, but it seemed like we might be able to make something work if they were genuinely interested in contributing a few $100,000 up front. Just as I started running through possibilities in my head, Tommy took the conversational reins again and almost instantly destroyed any shred of serious credibility I'd managed to salvage with my admittedly naive but critical questions. Callan and George hadn't contributed much to the conversation at this point, but whenever they did, it would slightly bolster our social standing. If there was one thing they were good at, especially Callan, it was being the life of the party. He was a master of big grins, inside jokes, and flattery. They had both the skills for a successful business, meeting, the production talent, and the marketing persuasiveness. Shout out to Calvin James Jr. He says, shout out to my boy. What's good, brother? What's good, Calvin James Jr.? Ain't heard from you in a minute, big dog. Shout out to bro. Hope everything's well. However, considering we were all a decade younger than Tommy, we were hardly the focus of the business discussion. By the time we were leaving to get in the cars, Callan, George, and I had resigned ourselves to the reality that the whole thing was a bust. We did our best, but no one with even a fraction of their wits would give any of us access to real money, knowing it would all end up being snorted by Tommy's nose. We returned to our hotel in Bucharest feeling dejected, embarrassed, and unsure of where to go from here. It wasn't our first failure, and we knew it wouldn't be our last, but we need to sleep and recharge before figuring out the next step. Expecting to retreat to my room and binge some Prison Break on my phone, Callan suddenly lit up with a completely different energy. They want to meet with you, Lauren, to be perfectly honest. I can't remember whether it was Callan or Tommy who got the text. It was a confusing game of telephone between different people. Maybe Tommy texted Callan, or maybe it was the other way around. But for some reason, I wasn't the one who got the invite directly. What? Yeah, they just reached out saying you impressed them at the meeting, and the deal is still on if you're willing to meet with them before you leave tomorrow and sort out the details. Now, if you're reading this and screaming, no, Lauren, I get it. I understand now. But there's very little you could have told a 22-year-old me to convince me I didn't have a real shot at saving the day, despite my imposter syndrome and self-doubt. Flying by the seat of my pants had generally worked up until this point. Maybe I really could be the key to getting this entire media company off the ground. Imagine that. Me saving the day. It seemed like a meeting free from distraction of a drugged out motor mouth might actually get somewhere. I clung to the fantasy I could turn this into something meaningful, as if my ambition could somehow justify the risk. They sent a car for me, and we headed back to the compound where the same group of men were waiting. No one was sitting at the desk. No papers or computers were out. They were just wandering around, conversing, while I awkwardly waited for some kind of prompt to continue our discussion. Hey, Lauren, get over here. Andrew waved me over to the couch. I want a picture with you. Tate barked it more like an order, but his sing-song tone kept it light, almost playful. By now, I was used to it ever since my sudden rise to internet fame a few years ago. People asking me for photos had become routine. I barely thought twice about it. I sat beside him, and he casually wrapped his hand around my waist and tugged me in as someone snapped the shot. I wasn't used to men grabbing me like that. Tate did it like we'd been dating for years or something. It left me slightly uncomfortable, but I brushed it off. I still wonder what's become of that photo. It's probably on an old phone somewhere. This is boring. Let's go somewhere more exciting, Andrew snapped while pacing. Tristan and the others agreed. Now, I was naive, but I wasn't that much of an idiot. I asked again when we discussed business and where exactly they wanted to go. To the club. It's just around the block. We can take the cars. It'll be fun. We'll discuss business there. Give me 1 second, guys. I got to close my door real quick. Alrighty. All right. And we're back. So he talking about discussing business at the club. Whew. All right. At that moment, my nearly non-functional amygdala kicked in for the first time in ages, sending off alarm bells. Maybe Tommy knew these people, but I didn't. Climbing into some flashy sports car with strangers bound for a Euro trash club I never even heard of, all while no one had a clue where I was. Yeah, hard pass. I looked for a way to play it cool. Hey, I'd rather not go out unless Tommy and the boys are coming too, I said, trying to keep it light. I've already texted them. We're sending a car now, Andrew replied, assuredly, with a twinkle in his eye. Well, my excuse was gone. Oh my God. I mean, women are so it's so crazy because like they try and act like she's just like completely a victim in this situation. if you didn't want to go to the club, you wouldn't have gone. When are women like not clamoring to go to the club in a foreign country? I mean, this is just it's hard to believe. Now, I'm not saying that it wouldn't be weird to go with some random people she just met, but honestly, bro, you definitely feel the vibes. Everybody feels the vibes in scenarios like this. It's hard to believe that, oh, if she really didn't want to go to the club, she had this one excuse, and then when that failed, she couldn't go. Like, you could have easily said, nah, I'm straight. Terminator Joe says, wow, this sounds like a feminist girl power propaganda film. The intelligent woman shines above the incompetent men. So original. Exactly. And it's so funny because it's like, oh, you're so smart. You're so like, you know, strong and independent, but you can't make the decision that you don't want to go to the club. I'm sure if I'd really pushed, I could have demanded they take me back to my hotel. Yep, exactly what I said. They probably would have taken me, and I'm sure they would have. But I wasn't thinking clearly. I was still on autopilot, lacking a strong sense of self, easily swayed by the smallest bit of pressure. The most dangerous thing a woman can be is a pushover. Given my own experiences, I can honestly say it's better to raise a bitch than a people pleaser. I imagine the same goes for men in their own way. We got in the cars and Andrew raced through the back rows. Not long after we pulled up to the club, an all-black brick building with a bouncer at the door. The luxury cars were packed out front, and the low boom of bass music thud underfoot as we walked down the narrow, dimly lit hallway to the main room. I'm sure you've seen this scene in the movies. Everything slows down, the background blurs, and someone steps through a doorway into another world. I turned the corner and blue neon light flooded my vision. Stages with gorgeous women, white leather couches, and was that fireworks? It was. I didn't even know what bottle service was at the time, but the whole vibe of the place was mesmerizing. I was painfully out of place in obvious North American wearing jeans and a black top, surrounded by Romanian girls in club dresses. Andrew offered to get me a drink. He snapped his fingers and waved over a serving girl, briskly ordering for both of us. Vodka soda, my usual, with lime. I was handed my drink, and just before taking a sip, I asked, any news on Tommy and the boys? Andrew turned to me, meeting my eyes with intent. They'll be here soon. Don't worry. He winked. After spending time with him earlier in the day, I felt a certain warmth toward him. There was something about his energy that was calming, easy to lean into, easier still to ignore the small things that didn't sit quite right. People in the club kept approaching, and just for reference, I mean, she's bringing this up in 2025. She's saying this happened in 2018. 7 years later is fucking insane. I'm not going to lie. People in the club kept approaching Andrew and Tristan, shaking their hands and chatting like old friends. They were clearly regulars here. I spent at least 10 minutes just trying to process my surroundings, the music blasting, the unfamiliar faces, the unspoken social cues. I was clearly missing. The Tate brothers moved through it all effortlessly, naturals in this world. While they swam with ease, I felt like I was drowning. So she's trying to frame it as if, there's a grooming aspect. These older men are just moving so effortlessly in the club while I don't know anybody here and I'm scared and all this kind of stuff. So this is the narrative that she's trying to paint. Shout out to Distant Lights. He says, hello, BGZM. I, Lord Malay Tamwu Terminator. Good evening to all. Mr. Nika says, these days women can do anything for divorce and alimony. Distant Light says, hello, Mr. Nika. Drop a like, everybody. Yeah, drop a like. Drop a Cash App too, man. Support the channel. We are completely demonetized and shadow banned and censored on this channel, so show some love. Let's see. Here we go. I figured I'd try to talk to Donnie as he seemed to be the brains behind their operation, the financials at least. Honestly, I still hadn't quite figured out what the hell was going on. We exchanged some small talk about Bitcoin, but before I could get a sense of where the conversation was heading, a tray of shots was brought over. The brothers ushered us all to cheers with them. While I sipped on my vodka soda, I wasn't quite ready for another drink until Tommy and the others arrived. Where's Tommy? Where are Callan and George? I shouted past the tray, my voice barely carrying over the pounding music. The cars just arrived. They're on their way now. Andrew reassured me, leaning in close, his head nearly pressed to mine. His voice cut through the noise with ease, steady and sure. I studied the shot glass, and despite my hesitation, seeing the rest raise them, I joined in and we all threw them back. I winced as the burn hit. I never really got used to drinking anything stronger than my vodka sodas. It's funny how an environment itself can make a behavior feel oddly natural. Um, Surrounded by music, fireworks, and the shimmering energy of the club, it would feel weird to decline. Despite only having one shot and still working on my vodka soda, I found myself feeling surprisingly intoxicated. Usually only beer hit me this quickly. I paid it no mind. I mean, how does beer hit you quicker than liquor? That don't even make sense. I paid it no mind as I was fast distracted with conversation. Maybe it was the vibe of the club or just the fact that I was coming off as a stereotypically fun, carefree blonde. But Donnie, who'd been friendly enough as we bantered about politics and online culture, suddenly seemed to take my relaxed demeanor as a green light. Or perhaps it was the one or two edgy jokes I tossed out. Either way, his tone shifted. It was far more candid now. Yelling over the music, not yet drunk, he launched into an explanation of their entire operation. A series pump and dump crypto scheme, raking in millions. He didn't try to hide it. It was all basically illegal and something they couldn't pull off in the US. We've got the police wrapped around our fingers here, he bragged. Andrew had said almost the same thing as the compound during our initial meeting, but I brushed it off as some cheeky over the top bravado. Donnie went on, an inside guy. We can do whatever we want and they can't do shit. He almost laughed as he said it, high on the absurdity. And even if they do come after us, we'll just shut down shop, take the money and run to another Eastern European shithole. Hell, I'm getting close to the point now. We'll cash out and disappear. At this moment, any hope that the night might shift toward a legitimate investment discussion had faded entirely. In fact, I was struggling just to keep my eyes open. We hadn't even been there that long, and I hadn't drank much, but something was wrong. My body wasn't listening to me. The world was dimming, and I couldn't stop it. I asked again about Tommy and the others, but kept getting vague answers. Just around the corner, they said. Eventually, I found myself crawling onto a couch at the back of the club, my eyelids fluttering closed. Blue lasers and neon lights danced behind them, dragging me in and out of consciousness, pulsing to the relentless hum of the heavy bass. I thought I felt a girl shaking my shoulder, asking if I was okay. Honestly, I didn't care about anything except keeping my head in a comfortable spot on the white faux leather couch, or fox leather couch. Time lost all meaning. I couldn't tell if 10 minutes or an hour had passed. Tommy and the boys never showed up. As far as I know, a car was never even sent for them. The memories after the blur together, I remember someone carrying me to a bathroom, standing outside the stall while I threw up. The nausea was overwhelming, and I think I might have even fallen asleep hugging the toilet for a while. Then Andrew was there again, lifting me up and carrying me through the dim hallway. My feet barely touched the ground, the bass of the music still shaking my body. I felt the cool night air hit my skin as the door to a sports car opened in front of me. A stupid fucking Bugatti, I'm sure. Chapter 11, Confessions. It was kind of my fault. I can trace every moment I had the opportunity to turn things around, right up until the point when everything went wrong. The truth is, I could have said no to that strange business meeting overseas, at least until I had more information. I could have refused to go to the club until my friends were with me. I could have turned down the drinks with whatever little sense I had left. I could have said no to what I foolishly thought was a harmless cuddle when I had no intention of going any further, but honestly, I'm not sure it would have mattered at that point. This wasn't a case of mixed signals or intoxicated blurred lines. I fought back. I was pleading. I just didn't realize there was a point of no return, a moment where my voice would no longer have any power. So here's where she's trying to set up that, okay, maybe I didn't tell him no, but I fought back with, I mean, she doesn't really say specifically what she said yet, but maybe no's, maybe moans. I don't know what she's trying to explain here. I'd rather not give a detailed account, so I'll keep it simple. Well, there you go. Then that's all your credibility right here. I mean, She says he carried me back to the hotel room and asked me to sleep beside him. I said yes. So boom, we have the first yes, sleeping beside him in the same bed. I was incredibly intoxicated, subjective, and some part of me convinced myself that because he was Tommy's friend, he wasn't particularly dangerous. It was a poor decision, but it happened. He kissed me. I wasn't expecting it, and I wasn't looking for it. But I kissed him back briefly and then told him I wanted to sleep. So she did kiss him back. So that's a second yes. I was extraordinarily tired. He wanted to go further. I said no very clearly multiple times and tried to pull his hands off me. He put his arms around my neck and began strangling me unconscious. I tried to fight back. He repeatedly strangled me every time I regained enough consciousness to pull at his arms. I prefer not to share the rest. It's pretty obvious. No, I mean, it's really not pretty obvious. It's really not pretty obvious. Like, I mean, did he like, I mean, did he fuck you from the back? Did he fuck you from the front? Like, what position? Like, what actually went on? I've mentioned it before, but I'm once again reminded of how deeply I used to believe in that naive, almost cartoonish version of life where I was the main character. Nothing truly bad could happen and danger didn't exist as long as you played it smart. I held on to a teenage radical anti-feminist idea that men weren't a real threat unless you let them be one. I'd had experiences before where I set boundaries and they were respected, where a night ended with a cuddle, maybe a kiss, and that was it. No pressure, no problem. Once or twice, I'd even crashed in a male friend's hotel room or at their house after drinking without the slightest concern they'd try anything. The next morning, it was just, good morning, hope you're feeling better. I'm not saying these were good decisions, and he said, good morning, hope you're feeling better the next morning. She said, I'm not saying these were good decisions, and I'm incredibly militant now about never putting myself in a position like that again. But that was my lived experience. I believe I could take all the risks I wanted and still be fine. I didn't know how to cope when that belief shattered. When I finally faced the real consequences of taking those risks, it broke me psychologically. I cycled through different forms of denial. It's taken me years or even begin to process it clearly and take full responsibility for my own behavior. It's easier to convince ourselves that evil completely ensnares us without our willingness on our part, but evil isn't always this obvious. Okay, you can scream all you want. I mean, really, I suppose I can't entirely fault conservative media for turning Andrew Tate into a hero, though for a while I certainly did. Okay. So she describes the situation that happened. I mean, I'm just not convinced. There weren't enough details. You're writing a book. You have to be specific. You have to be specific. So here is, we're going to go to videos of Lauren Southern straight capping on stream.
Lauren, I tagged you and Destiny on Twitter in a Ralph video. Everyone, okay, fine. We'll talk about Ethan Ralph for a moment. Everyone wants me to engage with the Ethan Ralph stuff. Everyone wants me to talk about it and discuss the drama there, but there is no drama. It's literally just Ethan Ralph inventing it out of thin air for attention. There's nothing, there's no substance to anything. He just will make up shit to try to get people to engage with it, to try to it's all fluff. There's nothingness. There's nothing to grab onto or talk about unless you want to talk about how he's embarrassing himself, I guess. I don't know. Here, sorry, I got to focus the camera.
So she's lying about fucking Destiny in this clip.
A lot of people were like, is he going to be in the manifesto? Is he going to be in the manifesto? Ethan Ralph has never done anything in his life. He's never gone outside and engaged or gone to protests or done anything significantly political. He's never been involved in kind of the political movement. He just kind of sits on his computer and gossips. So I don't what would I even include him for? He had no level of importance to be included in the manifesto. I don't know, man. He's just a lolcow. There's nothing to talk about with Ralph. And then if you talk about him, he becomes obsessed, actually obsessed. I think I mentioned him not even once on Twitter. It was just responding to him. And he's just obsessed, goes off and off and off. The other day, he was we need to find proof that Lauren's a whore. And they get a photo and it's of me with a family member, hugging on the shoulder, and he's like, yeah, look at this. This is like psychoanalyzing this photo of me with family. It's just really creepy, weird stuff. And this is what I mean. I just did an interview with a guy named Josh the Cash from Wrong Opinion, and he was like, I like Josh. We've been friends for a long time, but he was talking about how women and gay men, they cause all this drama. And I'm like, no. I'd say the drama mongers, a lot of them, the main ones, are somehow men. Maybe they are gay. I don't know. Maybe that's like the big secret here. Maybe they are all gay men, but they are like, it's all a lot of men claiming to be straight that love to just gossip all day on the internet. I don't know, guys. Not good. Not good. So we won't address too much of Ethan Ralph because there's nothing interesting. There's just nothing there. It's a whole lot of nothing. All right. I'm going to join the call with Stardust.
So boom. There you have it. She was saying there's nothing there with Destiny. Obviously, we know that's a lie. We know that she fucked Destiny. I mean, it's absolutely hilarious. I'm trying to find Andrew Tate's response. Oh, okay. I think he actually responded to her directly. So that's it's going to be interesting. Let's see. Obviously, I mean, she accuses him 7 years later. It's kind of crazy. So boom. Here's the tweet. Okay, so Andrew Tate says, okay, so she says, good morning. Time to pour gasoline on what's left of my reputation and strike the match. All for a cause I should have committed to long ago. The truth, this is not real life, is a memoir about the total unfiltered chaos behind the scenes of my time in media. And I think this is not real life title almost gives her that plausible deniability to where nobody can really sue her if she's being defamatory. So it's, oh no, the book is called This Is Not Real Life. It's literally not real life. It's fictional. From an evangelical upbringing and a steady diet of Fox News to going viral and playing my first part in media disinformation to meeting with terrorists, neo-Nazis, intelligence agents, and political crime rings. There's coke binges, MDMA diplomacy with enemies, a nuclear-grade marriage meltdown, and a trail of scandals across 5 continents. I was arrested in Turkey and Morocco, got banned from the UK, and maybe violated international sanctions. Finally, a psychotic break, addiction, and the dark art of conspiracy. So, I mean, Lauren Southern, she was definitely on the far right, conservative, like quasi-racist, like trying to be edgy by being racist type bitch, you know. So, you know, we don't feel no remorse for this hoe. If you're someone I met along the way and you're thinking, wait, am I in this book? Relax. Unless you committed a crime or did something genuinely insane, you're probably fine. If anything, I'm the one under the microscope. I still have no idea how much trouble I'll be in with the government, let alone everyone else for publishing this. I guess we'll find out. No, I won't be doing interviews. Don't ask. I wrote this book to claw my way back to reality. I hope it helps. So this is her trying to get back onto the conservative scene, I believe. Andrew Tate responds to this by saying, chooses the chapter about me to release for free to get attention so she can sell her memoirs of promiscuity. And this isn't the first woman who's done this. There was another woman in California who did the same thing, tried to accuse Andrew Tate, then say, oh, I'm writing a book. Coincidence, I'm sure. I'm glad you admit you're a drug addict in this post. That might explain why you forgot about all the texts you sent begging to see me again. Should I release them in my book? Sluts who begged for me. Yo, I mean, he's going hard at her. So yeah, I mean, he's going all the way in on her. So he definitely feels right in his own regard. He feels like this is a false accusation. And I mean, I wouldn't put it past her for sure. These hoes be making hella false accusations. Coming out 7 years later is crazy. It just doesn't make sense. Oh shit. So here's another one, and I don't know if this is like parody. I don't even want to. Is this has to be parody? I don't know. Let's see. Let me look this up before I speak on it, because it sounded like it was like another accusation from Laura Southern's sister. Like, what the fuck? I didn't even know she had a sister. All right, yeah, I think that was just like a parody post. You know, you got to be sure on Twitter. But I mean, we read most of the accusations. Somebody said, "Is she going to sell this story to Netflix? This is so fake." It's a bit vague still, to be honest. Mr. E says, "White girls been screaming rape on a black man." Distant Light said, "Hello, Mr. E." Yeah, so yeah, it definitely seems not credible. And Andrew Tate is going in on his Twitter. I'm trying to find exact responses, but we do have Tommy Robinson's response here, who she's accusing of being a cokehead, binge guy. Let's see.
Here's a horrible fact. Okay, I was there when Lauren Southern travelled to Romania with Andrew Tate. I was in the hotel room next door. When I walked out in the morning when we were leaving, Lauren Southern's at the door kissing him. Okay, so when you
so he leaves his hotel room. When he leaves, he sees Laura Southern at the door kissing him. So obviously, you got witnesses, eyewitnesses, people backing up the fact that it was a consensual interaction. I'm sure Tate fucked. And now here you got Tommy Robinson confirming that she kissed him afterwards. So, I mean, if you getting raped, you definitely not kissing the nigga afterwards. I mean, if you want to take him as a credible source, it is what it is. I don't really hear him. Distant Light said cocaine is a hell of a drug. Yeah, I don't hear him denying the cocaine usage, though.
read what she says there, like he's raped her. That's what she's implying. It's a bit weird to be kissing him on his door and then get in the car and message him the whole way. Insanity. Absolute bullshit.
So she get in the car and message him the whole way back, trying to meet back up with Tate. This might be a response from Tate. I'm not really sure. Let's see.
I'm going to say something racist. Yesterday, I watched a really interesting documentary about the craft, the Trieste, which went down to the bottom of the Mariana Trench, the Challenger Deep, the deepest point in the ocean. And not only did it do this, which is incredible, it did it in 1960. In 1960, before computers.
So no, I don't think this is a response, but he did post a "shut up, bitch" on Twitter. Let's see, this might be one. Okay, so he's just saying being rich is boring. I want to see if he responds anymore. I want to see if he responds anymore about the Laura Southern. No, I think that was pretty much it. He just responded to her initial tweet, and then, that's kind of that. So, I mean, let me know what you guys think. I think it is a false accusation. I think she waited way too long to bring this shit to the stage. And, ultimately, we all know that Tate has a tattered past for sure. But this just seems way too convenient at the time. It just seems like she's just trying to sell a book, honestly. And a lot of her other what's it called? Like people who have worked with her colleagues, they say the same, that she's not really a credible source and she's kind of like out of her mind. And apparently she left and took a hiatus from the media space because she got overwhelmed, and then she like somehow, I think, her husband kicked her out because she fucked another guy and all this kind of stuff. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy. Let's see. Let me see. Yeah, okay. Okay, I mean that's pretty much. Let's see. One more. Hold up. Okay, yeah. So that's pretty much it I have on this. That's pretty much all I have on this. And then in 2024, November 30th, 2024, Rolo said he confirmed that Andrew Tate smashed Lauren Southern from her ex-husband. So he said all of this was confirmed by Lauren's ex-husband in 2023. So very interesting here. Very interesting here. Oh, here's Rolo posting receipts. It says, was her involvement with Andrew Tate? Oh, this was Rolo. What was her involvement with Andrew Tate? I have to be very careful about this. And then her husband responded, her ex-husband, well, this I can answer well, as she used to cry about this to me. So here, I mean, this is the classic case of I fucked a guy, my man found out. Now I have to say he raped me so that I can keep my story with my man. I mean, that's what it sounds like to me. But he goes on to say, well, this I can answer well, as she used to cry about this to me, as a few times it seemed like it was getting out online or something. Someone she had screwed over was trying to blackmail her back. I believe Milo again. I'm like, I have a normal professional life. What the fuck is all of this? It is just not normal. So to really summarize, her and Tommy Robinson approached Andrew Tate to contribute money to an alt-right documentary. They went there and saw him personally in Romania. Lauren was attracted to Tate and visited him a few times and started making out and hanging out with him during the trip. So this is her husband confirming this. She went back alone another time to secure money for the project. She got very drunk and she was on her stomach on his bed, and he got on top of her, pulled her underwear off, and was about to enter her from behind. Lauren was drunk and resisted, told him no and stop. That's what she's telling you, bucko. And then locked her legs together. Tate put her in a headlock and started to choke her out, telling her to open her legs. When he was finished, he said, so what? I raped you. You can't do anything about it. Fuck off. So her ex-husband is saying this is the story Laura Southern told. And then Laura Southern didn't even tell this same story in her book. And Tommy Robinson saying that she kissed him after this. So very interesting. She was traumatized by this all and had a few days later had a cocaine bender in London with Tommy Robinson. So she was getting all over Tommy Robinson's case about his cocaine usage. And meanwhile, she's using cocaine too. A lot of girls do this and they'll say, oh, well, I don't get why people do cocaine. Meanwhile, they start snorting lines of coke off a nigga's dick or something. In London with Tommy Robinson and her film crew. In the process, she got wasted again and gave Tommy Robinson a blowjob. Despite him being married, apparently he told her they were splitting up. And this was all while she's married. She was ashamed of all of this, and we had long and detailed conversation about this. Who the fuck? All as... Hold up. What the hell? Hold on 1 second, boys. Is somebody... give me 1 second. Sorry, guys. All right, sorry about that, guys. I don't know, it was some weird ass nigga walking down the street. I had to pull a strap. Let's see. She was traumatized by all this, blew Tommy in the bathroom, or not in the bathroom, blew him on a coke bender. She was ashamed of all this. They had long conversations. So this is obviously retroactively withdrawing consent. She got caught by her husband for smashing Andrew Tate and blowing Tommy Robinson. And essentially she, admitted her story, her, series of events. This is what she's admitting to. This is what she's, what the fuck? Hold on one second. Yeah, sorry about that. I don't know what the fuck going on outside. But let's see. She was ashamed of all this. So basically, here's the story. She went to Romania probably against the advice of her husband. And then she hoed out. She comes back, she feels guilty, she spills everything to her husband and tells him the version of, "Oh, they raped me." So she's saying Tate raped her and she blew Tommy willingly, essentially is what she's saying. I mean, this is typical of like bitches who get caught by their boyfriends for cheating. They say, "Oh, the guy raped me." That's very like, it's a very regular occurrence. I know multiple guys who it happened to. So yeah, that's probably what happened here. He remains supportive and caring. It was before we were together. She is self-inflicted damaged woman, mate, all for fame. It's actually sad. Oh, and she states she got the herpaderp from him. These are all things she has explicitly stated to me. So she's saying she got herpes, HSV2 from Tommy, I think, maybe. Lauren uses people to get what she wants. She comes across sincere about this as she doesn't realize she is doing it. Basically, once your utility is done, she just forgets about you. That's why she has very few friends and struggles to maintain relationships with people of any kind. Destiny has her ticket to getting back in the YouTube game as a someone reformed alt-writer, in my opinion. I had received information that they were hanging out a lot when her US travel ban was lifted. They then started sleeping with each other as he is in some kind of relationship like that. Lauren then got pregnant and it was a girl. Then they just started formalizing the relationship as I guess there is a kid involved. I do not know what happened to this child or anything moving forward since, however, have since been told she is seeing Tim Pool and he has given her a job or something. Holy shit. So basically, she's saying that, or she told her husband that either Tate or Tommy Robinson gave her herpes. So they're now saying Paul Joseph Watson fucked Lauren Southern too. Lauren Southern doesn't reject anyone. Here's the 1488 engraved Tiffany necklace she left behind at Paul Joseph Watson's house after they had sex. I expect she's been wondering what happened to it for a decade. Happy to clear up the mystery. So that was Milo Yiannopoulos, or Milo, I don't know his last name, but the I guess the gay conservative Australian dude And then they're showing pictures of Tate with Jordan Peterson's daughter, who he smashed as well. So yeah, let's see. Wow, I mean, this is crazy. This is crazy. Man, that's wild. That is a wild story. Yeah, I mean, I just think she ended up just getting caught for being a hoe, and that's kind of how it came up. But Rolo is saying that Lauren Southern, whatever her name is, she got herpes from either Tate or from Tommy Robinson. So that is that's fucking insane, dog. That's insane. Distant Light says, yeah, it's not looking credible on her part at all. The film crew could confirm her being on a bender, but I doubt they'd risk their careers like that. Wasn't he messing around with Jordan Peterson's daughter, Michaela, around this time as well? Does she have anything to say about it? Yeah, she's pretty quiet about her relationship with Tate. She says that she visited him in Bucharest. He most likely smashed her too. So she, every time people ask her about it, she doesn't really confirm nor deny it. So that's what I'm reading from that situation. But man, I mean, that is a hell of a story there. I will let you guys be the judge. Personally, you know, I believe that she went out there for quote unquote business purposes. I really just think she was more starstruck. She wanted to get away from her husband. She wanted to be able to utilize these rich and powerful men to push her career further. When that didn't end up happening, she got retroactively upset and retroactively withdrew consent, on top of maybe contracting herpes, which I don't know if she got that from Tate or Tommy Robinson or maybe another guy that she was fucking, probably Destiny, because he's a homosexual. But then, you know, goes back to her husband, confesses all, and because she was unfaithful to him, she says, oh, well, this guy raped me. So that's kind of how it's playing out in my head. But hey, you guys be the judge. If y'all want to go check out her little passage in the book, you know, you can go do that. But I can't get behind it completely. I really can't. You know, it's just too many false accusations coming around. She wasn't descriptive enough. Her husband was talking about, oh, he got on her while she was laying prone. He locked her legs, put her in a chokehold, and then made her spread it open. But she's saying she's not even describing how the rape actually occurred, when she said no, when she tried to push off or whatever. She's not really describing so physically. So yeah, I just, you know, I just don't believe it. And then her peers and colleagues are saying she's not a credible source. Looks like a money grab, looks like an attention grab from an attention slore. But you already know what it is, man. It's your boy Reclaim Your Thought. Make sure you like, comment, share, subscribe. Send your relationship request to the email down below with a screenshot of your CashApp so I know you're paying your thoughts, man. Y'all already been here, freaking BS. You already know. Reclaim Your Thought.
Want to become an elite level athlete? Well, look no further. The Reclaim Your Throne Elite D1 training course is all you need to take your performance from subpar to the creme de la creme of athletes all around the world. The purpose of this course is to give you a comprehensive weight training, speed, flexibility, recovery, and endurance program that is meant to prepare young athletes for collegiate and professional sports. This course is packed with over 2 hours of creative, action-packed lifts narrated and coached by yours truly to assure increased strength, speed, flexibility, recovery, and endurance. Hey, I get it. Training alone can be tough and can even make you feel misguided or somewhat unmotivated. But with this course, I walk you step by step through each and every lift to make sure you're using the proper form to prevent injuries and that you're hitting the correct muscle groups to render maximum results. So what are you waiting for? It's now or never. So go ahead and get the training course today so you too can reclaim your throne.